and talk some football in the meantime. Um, so week one matchups, we on Thursday the 31st uh, at 8 p.m. We've got Florida at Utah, and Utah's a 6.5 point favorite. It's a 45.5 point over under. Um, you know, I feel like, in my opinion, I feel like this is going to be a low scoring game. So I'm thinking maybe 45.5. I know that's a low number, um, but I could even see this game being like 17-14. I really could. Uh, I definitely don't see these teams airing it out or anything like that. So, um, one of the interesting tidbits that I had seen was that Utah has lost the first game each year since 2019. And in some of those years, they lost their first two games. So there's something to that. Utah has started slow and finished strong every single year. And I believe that Utah has got a very, very physical front. Um, they always have very physical lines of scrimmage. And they feel like they've got a power run game. You listen to these coaches talk, and they're going to rely on a power run game to feed this offense this year. And one thing that everybody was asking about was Cam Rising, right? Is Cam Rising going to be back for the game? Well, they released a depth chart, and he was listed as the starter on the depth chart. And so and him and the tight end that both were dealing with the knee issues are both listed as starters on the depth chart. And so it's looking like they're going to be able to get the start, which is great for Utah. They're going to need somebody to throw play action and things like that whenever they're running the ball like that. I wouldn't expect to see Cam Rising running around a whole lot. I don't expect him to be out there getting hit real hard and things like that. But you've got three backup quarterbacks, and it looks like Brendan Rose is going to be the backup if something does happen, and Rising can't finish the game or make the start. We don't know. He played, I think, a little bit last year. We don't know much about him, but the coaches feel really confident that he could come in and run the program. And you've got Nate Johnson and Bryson Barnes as well. Barnes, I think, was the backup last year and played some. Brendan Rose is actually a freshman, I believe, so hasn't played, but has got more of an side, it sounds like. I expect Devon Vele to have a pretty big game. And a big season. This is somebody that had a lot of production last year, and he will be the wide receiver one for Utah. And Micah Pittman comes in from FSU. So you've got like a 1-2 punch that going on with the and here comes Mason back. You've got a 1-2 punch with the wide receivers that I think is going to probably be able to get this offense on the right track and complement that power run game. Florida, on the other hand, I don't see any wide receivers that are just going to bust the game out, and I don't think that that's the plan for Florida. I think the strategy is power running, and they lose a lot of their offensive line, which worries me. But with that being said, I don't think Florida's cupboard is completely full of pass catchers and things. So whereas they do have a great running back room, you got Montrell Johnson, Trevor Etienne, and Cam Carroll that came in from Tulane. You've got three guys that are like a sure thing at running back, and I expect Florida to get behind those guys, and that's going to be their offense this year. I really think so. Graham Mertz is not necessarily a stand in the shotgun and throw 50 times a game. I don't think that that's going to be the strategy. So with all that being said, I feel like this Florida and Utah matchup with the 45.5 over under probably going to be a play for me on the betting show on Friday. I'm probably going to go under that. I think, like I said, with the physical styles that these two are expected to run, it's going to be run the football. The clock is already running this year at a faster pace. The games are going to be a little bit shorter. I think 45.5, while it is a low number, I think this game could be won 20-17, something like that.
Yeah.
So I really honestly can see Florida covering in this game, but not winning, and the over under, the total number going under. How do you feel about this game? I've got Utah winning but not covering. How do you feel?
Oh man, I am very perplexed. I saw Cam Rising said that he was going to play.
You missed this whenever I was just saying. So
Okay.
they let their depth chart out and listed him as the starter.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what that means. That doesn't mean anything. This isn't the NFL. You don't have to say somebody's hurt.
Right.
They could put anybody at starting quarterback on the depth chart and them not start. So, but for what it's worth, the tight end and the quarterback are on the starting roster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I assume he's going to play. He just tore his ACL in January, though. So how much of Cam Rising do we really see? Because this is a guy who, I mean, we've all seen the highlight play. I just made a hype video, with him in it, where he gets his freaking block knocked off and goes spinning across the sideline. But and we just know him as a physical quarterback, or a running quarterback, and somebody who's not afraid to carry the rock. And you shouldn't see that. He should be more of a pocket. He should have more of a pocket presence, and be able to scramble every now and then. But from what I heard from him, he sounds confident that he's healthy. I think the words that he used was, I'm going to have to trust people who get paid more than I do, for their for their information, or something like that. Anyways, and so he was saying, basically, at least I took from that some people are saying that he should play, or should do certain things differently, but we'll see. This was a really fun game last year. This was like, man, this is what college football is all about. Teams going across the country to play each other, literally from one end of the country to the other, from one corner to the other, and gosh, it's exciting. It's going to be exciting this year. I do think that Utah will win this game. I think that, you see on your screen right there, number 15, Richardson was a big factor in this game last year for Florida, and they were barely able to etch out a victory. So I'm excited to watch it. That they got to go to Utah this year. I think it's going to be completely different. Not going to be at home in the swamp. And I just don't think that Florida is going to have much of an offense. They might be a lot better on defense, but I'm with you. I think that the play here is the under 45.5, which is a pretty low number. I think that's a solid line. I'm not like rushing to bet it, but maybe after, thinking about it for a little bit, it may be a solid play.
Anybody who's betting on that number, you should wait, because I think with it being such a low number, the number will probably come up closer to game time as people bet. And therefore, if you're going to bet the under, I would wait and let that number come up a point or two, give yourself an extra point or two, probably bet it on Friday. Anytime a line is this low, typically people come in and bust the over, especially just the more casual betting people. They'll come in and bet that number up for you, and then at the end of the week you can go snatch your under. So let that be a lesson to everybody. A lot of times if you're betting overs, let's do that earlier in the week, and if you're betting unders, let's do that later in the week, and let the numbers kind of situate whatever direction they're going to go. But yeah, I agree with you. I don't think Florida's going to have a good offense, but at the same time, this is going to be both teams trying to give each other a knuckle sandwich, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's two physical teams that are going to run right at each other. Utah has got the much better pass catchers, but Florida is going to have a pretty good secondary. I feel like the defense is going to be probably middle of the pack. Honestly, all their transfers that were highly rated were on the defense. So I think you're going to see Florida go to the Billy Napier way of football, whenever he was in the CUSA, and I think it's going to be, the Sun Belt. You're going to see a team that's focused on stopping the run and running the football, and which is the basics of having a good team. And they're going to try to slowly but surely build this Florida team from the inside out. But I don't feel like they're ready to go to Utah. We're looking at these highlights, though. Florida wasn't even ranked last year.
Yeah.
And then they go into Utah, who's a top 10 team, and, take care of business. And so I'm skeptical to say that Utah can cover this, but I do feel like it's going to be a good game and probably going to come in under those numbers.
And speaking of numbers that I would go under, I don't know if you talked about it yet, but it doesn't sound like you have. The Nebraska-Minnesota game